You don't need to have everything in order. I launched my agency without a website. It was a Facebook page and everything was everywhere and sort of backtracking to get it in order. So I had something that worked, was different. So be you.
Well, hey again, folks. Welcome to another episode of Scale to Freedom. Today we've got an amazing guy. He's an Aussie guy living over in England, living the dream of freedom. Stevie Tann, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Cal. Great to catch up again, mate. Thanks for having me.
Good. So, folks, Steve Tann, he's a bit of an enigma, bit of a legend in the whole GHL. If you don't know what GHL is, it's Go High Level or High Level Community, white labeled CRM. He's been a bit of a guru in that space for a long time. And he's had the opportunity to build and to scale and now to be free and doing what he likes over there in England. So, Steve, let's just start off with, give us a little bit of your own personal background and what were the career pathways you took to get into the agency, and then obviously what happened when you got out.
Mate, it's a long story because there's a lot of grey hairs now, so it's quite a pathway. But I hated school. I was good at school, but I hated school. I wanted to get out. So my dad said if I did an apprenticeship, if I stayed in school, he'd give me a brand new Commodore, V8 Commodore, the last of the V8 Commodores, which I obviously didn't get because I left school. And if I was to leave school, I had to become an apprentice. Luckily, my godfather was in the restaurant industry. I mean, he gave me a job. So I was either going to become a chef or a nurse because I wanted to travel. And I hate blood, so it was obviously going to be a chef. And that allowed me to travel. So as a chef, I worked all over Australia. I worked all over the world. I worked in Switzerland, Austria, Germany, London. That gave me the travel bug. And sort of moving a year here, 2 years there, 3 years there, and moving around the world I had an absolute ball. Long story short, chefing career came to an end because of back problems. I couldn't stand up on floors and hard floors all the time and all of that sort of thing. So I got into running pubs and spent many years running pubs. And then that sort of got to me as well. Like, it's hard when you're getting older and you want to see your family and you want weekends and things like that. So I decided to get into doing my own thing, to get into sales because I could talk and all of that sort of thing. One of my sales jobs was in the telecommunications industry when that was deregulated in Australia, when all these new companies came along to be your phone providers. I wasn't very good at that. I used to spend every Friday in the cinemas down the road watching the latest movies. So I wasn't very good at that. But then I went and worked at the Crown Casino in Melbourne for quite some time and worked in the high rollers up there. And then we start getting into the agency space. So I started working for a wine company. Now, this is where I really learnt sales. I was working for a company called Antiqua Wines, and we were selling Indian wines into the Australian market. So we were selling a product that wasn't as good as the local product and more expensive. But we actually managed to sell some wines, which was good. So I learned how to sell then and overcome objections because it was store slam, door slam, door slam, door slam. So it was hard work. And through that, we needed to build a website. So I built a website. I got into website building. Then chatbots came out. I started playing with chatbots. And then COVID hit. People might remember a thing called COVID there. COVID was actually a blessing for me because I was out there. Decided to try and start building my agency. I was working full time. I could no longer go to work. I was driving Uber at night. I could no longer do that. So I had about 3 months to start building things. And I was building some chatbots for some people that were doing live events. And we were getting people there. And, the chatbot was taking their coffee order on the way there. So the coffee was waiting with their name on them and doing things like that. And like I said, COVID hit. So all of the in-person events went online. It's sort of slowly reversing that at the moment. So I built systems. I built the chatbots out and turned them into online events, and I discovered High Level at the same time. So I decided to build the system into High Level so we could send SMSs, emails, we could build the landing pages, we could do all of that sort of thing, track visitors, track links and track clicks and all of that sort of thing, so to improve that system. So I built that out for 2 of my customers for free in that 3 months, and they loved it. We had our attendant, the average attendance rate online, and most people in your field will know, is around about 30%. So you get 100 people register, you get 30 people show up. Normally, if you've got a low to mid ticket offer, of those 30 that show up, around about 20% will purchase, depending on the ticket price. So I increased the turn up rate to 80% and the post purchase sale to 50% on a mid ticket items, and that made them a lot of money. And the only thing I didn't charge them to build it or anything like that. The only thing I asked was put my powered with heart love by Contact Owl on the bottom of every email and SMS. So they had I knew their database. They each had a database of over 70,000 local businesses. So my agency, I didn't have a niche. I just provided solutions to problems like missed call, text back, reputation management, building a website and things like that. So that's how I got into it, Cal.
Mate, it's quite an interesting little journey. And really, what we're trying to talk about today, the start of freedom, is really where you started from. You had a dream to travel and to have something that wasn't going to tie you down, which is what a
Yep.
lot of people see as a good, as their definition of freedom.
Yep.
And you've taken this journey and you just literally whatever's hit your way. You had your bad back and your family, missing the family, and then COVID. These barriers, doesn't matter what it is, there's going to be barriers in everybody's life. And if you don't build a business where you can be free, in other words, you're not tied to and locked into something, you are literally, you've got the chains on, and you've basically demonstrated that you can break the chains and you can just go off, you can change direction if you've actually got something in mind. And yours was, again, freedom.
Yeah.
So you got your agency, you got it going, and something, folks, to really learn from, and I learned this from Steve a long time ago, is if you give something away that's of real value, extreme value, the leverage you can get out of that is huge. Huge. And you've done it, and that's what you did.
Yeah, and that's what I still do.
And you still do. It's exactly right. Give away, give real value, not just your cheat sheets and the simple little thing. Give real value, and the whole reciprocity. You'll reap what you sow. It'll come back to you tenfold. So okay, so let's just pick up the story. You've got your agency. You've got it going. You gave away a couple of freebies. You now got your agency going. So tell us.
Mate, I hate my agency right now because I didn't know how to build an agency. It was a trap. I was working 100 hours a week on my agency when I had about 15 sub accounts. It was a nightmare. I had people calling me and messaging me. I had no systems. Like, I was stupid. I built my agency. When I was first going, I was giving a 30-day trial, so no money up front. I was trying to build everything custom in that 30 days to get them happy. So I had VAs in there building, and they just go after 30 days. So it was absolutely ridiculous what I was doing. It was just absolutely not scalable. And thankfully, then I found high level was growing and other services in the high level space were growing as well. And I found a way where I could outsource all of my onboarding and my support and things like that. And the best thing I did was a single snapshot. Like, remember, I didn't have a niche. I used a single snapshot in over 100 sub accounts. They all had the same system. A lawyer had a dog walker and a pooper scooper and a pharmacist and a coach all had the same system, because then I could do group training calls and I could talk to them. Everybody had workflow A103. Their emails might be different in it, but they all had the same system. And that started building my community, because I was doing calls with everybody, and my whole system was built around referrals. I never spent a cent on advertising. I did a few sales calls and things like that, but it was all referrals because, as you said before, I was over delivering. I was giving everything for free. I went away from having VAs do things to getting recommended services where they could go and talk to and get their own VAs, because that was an absolute headache. I remember one weekend, one of my VAs, their grandfather died for the third time that week and they couldn't come into work, so I couldn't deliver the website. On a Sunday afternoon, it was my mum's birthday. I didn't go to a birthday and I was building this website and I thought, no freaking way am I doing this. This is absolutely terrible. So I had to pivot. I went SaaS only, and just over delivered on, I was doing Zooms every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then just Wednesdays and messing around. And so, yeah, I unlocked the key. I built a scalable system that only required me, which is important. And that's hence building the scalable system gave me a saleable system as well, because I had the SOPs, I had all of the training, and I was a one-man show. My churn rate was about 2%. So my scalable system built a saleable system.
I love that. Scalable means saleable. That's a nice little ditty there, man. Yeah, you're over in Pommyland now, mate. All those little ditties and poetry and everything's happening. But the reality is, folks, we hear what he said. He got in, trialed it, got it happening, worked his guts out before he actually worked out, the scalable way. All right, and that's what a lot of us do. As entrepreneurs, we just launch ourselves into it and we work it out. And the key was outsourcing.
Yep,
Outsourcing.
absolutely.
Find the right people that can do the pieces for you. You drive the vision. You show them what to do. You become the face of the business. But everybody else, if somebody else is doing the work, and you now scale, all right, and you become free.
Yeah,
Really simple.
Yeah, I've also got to add it. It's not easy work either. Like when I was starting my agency, COVID released a little bit. I was working a full-time job. I was driving Uber at night. My wife was working extra shifts in a job she hated just to support my GHL habit. So, it was a team effort to get there and get it done. And it was hard work. I've spoken to thousands and thousands and thousands of agencies since I sold my agency, and everybody's looking for that magic wand, or they've had a GHL account for 35 minutes, they have no clients, what are they doing wrong? Man, I was working 20 hours 20 hours a day for 6 months. I got to a position where I could give up my job, so I started driving Uber full time. So I was leaving Uber for the airport runs at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting back at 9 o'clock at night. I was pulling over on the side of the road, logging off Uber, opening up my laptop, doing a sales call for my agency, closing it up, going back and driving Uber again. And, I got to that stage where I could give up driving Uber as well. And, a payment bounces, or, somebody says I'm leaving your agency as I was working out my systems. I'm thinking that's food on the table. What am I going to eat next week? And I have been in that position. It is hard work. So for all of those looking for the miracle, there ain't one.
Mate, you're exactly right. It's hard work. Some businesses are hard to get going, right? And you just got to put the hours in, mate, and you just got to grit it out. You've got to grit it out. And anything that's worthwhile doing is worth doing and working hard at it, because the end result is really what you're after. So let's go back. So you built this agency, all right. You knew what the dream was, is to be to scale it and become free, all right, scalable to saleable, as you would call it, which you eventually got there. What are some of the things? So you've already said you gave away too much for free. You've done the free trial sort of things. What are some of the things, if there's agency owners or people that have got a similar sort of business, a fairly high service business, what are some of the things that you would say, hey, here's 2 or 3 things that you should do, and what's 2 or 3 things that you should not do? All right, let's learn from those.
2 or 3 things that you should do is you need a face of the business. If you don't know how to sell, you're going to find it difficult. If I started another agency, I would start it with 3 people. I would have me doing the sales, outsource the fulfillment, outsource all the VAs, all of that sort of thing. Somebody doing the ads and somebody overseeing the technical and the training aspects and all of that sort of thing. So I would say, if you're not many people out there, know the tech, know how to sell, know how to build, know how to scale. So don't be afraid to find a partner, is what I would say. 33% of 100 sub accounts is better than 100% of 0 sub accounts. I would say that in the GHL space, which I was in, there's 120,000 people in that community. They're not all agencies, but there's a ton of agencies out there. So it is a competitive landscape. There are Everybody's out there. They're probably doing, there's people doing it cheaper than you. There's probably people out there doing it better than you as well.
Mm.
But your customers are going to buy from you. You're going to form that trust with your customers. The customers are going to buy your story, and they're going to buy you as being the face. If you're doing it that way, one-on-one sales calls and webinars and things like that. So, be you. Yeah, and then sort of another thing is build the systems to start with, if you can, if you're in a
Mm.
position to. I launched my agency without a website. It was a Facebook page. It was a little comment below to go on the waiting list. So you don't need to have everything in order. But, I launched and everything was everywhere and sort of backtracking to get it in order. So I had something that worked, was different. So, get your ducks in the row and record everything that you're doing. So then when you can outsource it to somebody, you say, hey, this is how I do it. Go and read this document, and you can leave them alone and you can have that freedom. They're things to do and not to do. Is that enough?
Mate, that's plenty. You've actually nailed such an important factor that you've given us the structure. Yourself on sales, somebody to do the techo stuff and the training. That's what an agency needs. And until such times you get the income, you're the person that does all three.
I've met people in the agency world that have just started, have got 2 sub accounts, and have got 12 full-time VAs working for them. So, dude, you're not going anywhere. Something's got to happen really, really fast. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. There's agencies out there that have grown to over 100 sub accounts in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But you'll find most of those have a very strong network behind them. They have an audience they have a warm audience that trusts them, that they can sell to. Not many people starting from scratch, and I speak as to most agencies out there. They don't have a database of 200,000 people that they taught in online schools or something along those lines. They've got friends and family to start with, a niche they understand a little bit about. So
That's exactly right. Mate, so you got to a stage, you built this agency, you started with hordes, you learned that you didn't want the hordes, you're going to outsource it. It come time to now you've scaled it and it was time to sell. What was the trigger points for you? Was it a decision? What was it? You just had enough? Tell us what was the process in going through from that, scale to sale.
Oh, listen, agent, like, if you've got everything automated, everything working, it's still hard work. It's hard work being that face, being on those calls, being reachable, and
Mm.
the more clients you have, the more you have to be that. And I wanted something where I could choose my times and all of that sort of thing. We wanted to move to England. We made the decision. My wife is English, so we could. We made the decision before Brexit. Originally, it was a double-decker bus and drive around Europe. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to be tied to doing Zooms all day and being tied to the computer. I wanted the freedom to, it's a great pub down there. Let's take the dog and go for a walk and go and have a nice dinner and things like that. So one of the original people I built the systems for, I ingrained them into the agency. I brought them in as a partner, and then I was consulting, and I actually organised. It wasn't a huge cash buyout or anything like that. There wasn't $1 million windfall or anything like that. I was paid a consultancy fee for 12 months to keep those contacts happy and all of that sort of thing. So I was doing the Zooms, and then there was a payout there, but that allowed me to buy properties in Australia, sell up, buy everything. I'm at 100% debt free, which allows me to live. I live a simple life. I don't have a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I live on a narrow boat, a 62-foot narrow boat in England. I'm in Banbury at the moment. Calvin will remember the nursery rhyme, Banbury Cross.
I'm old, but I was never into the poetry part of it, mate.
So I knew who I wanted to sell my agency to.
Mm.
So I tricked them, if you like. I bought them in, I delivered what I was delivering and gave them a product that was working that they took over. There's another person doing the high level side of things now. And because most of my clients were based in Australia as well, and I wanted to be in the UK. So I didn't want to be working at midnight to 7 a.m. or anything like that for Australian hours. So that was always the plan, to do that.
Yeah, cool, mate. And you got there, you say you tricked them? But the reality is, what you were smart. You know, you identified what it was. You identified somebody, the potential buyer. All right. And that's a real key piece. A lot of people can just go, oh, gee, I want to sell, and they got no idea what to do. But you were very strategic. You picked your person, you groomed them, gave them the opportunity, you gave them an easy way in and you an easy way out.
Yep.
So that you could live.
Had all the had the systems in place, had the outsourcing in place, had the SOPs in place, had all the training in place. So it was a turnkey operation.
Yeah. And that's critical. You scaled it, you become free, and then you sold it. You know, scale to sale. You know, that's
Yep.
I love that sort of simple philosophy. It's obviously the title that we're talking about here in our system today in Scale to Freedom. You scale something up and then you sell it and then you're free. Now, I know that you're, most entrepreneurs, you don't sell an agency and you just don't go off and jump on a 62-foot boat and travel the canals in England. I know you're still doing a little bit of stuff. Tell us all about what's been the different stages and steps, and what are you doing now, and what does Stephen Tann's future look like?
So yeah, no, it's fun. I'm still playing around in the GHL space, and after I sold my agency, I went and worked for one service provider in the GHL space, and that's where I was really encouraged to. I was doing sales calls and things like that, and obviously needed to make a sale, and that's where I started to talk to agency owners. And with my time there, I did about 7,000 calls. I looked through my Fathom recordings. There's 7,400 and something recordings, so I've almost broken my Fathom, I think. But I was encouraged. I was talking to agency owners. I was learning about their story, their struggles, their needs, and things like that. So I really enjoyed it. And I learnt from a gentleman named Rob Bailey at the London event, the GHL event. When I bent his ear for about 4 hours in the after party, I wouldn't let him go. I was fanboying him. And he told me, I said, what's the key to affiliate marketing? He said, give it all away for free. Everything give it away for free. And I said, what you do is not easy. So if you give it all away from free, some people will take it, some people will do it. Most people will ask you to do it for them. And that's the key there. So I then joined a company called GHL Starboys. You're familiar with them. And I didn't know what they were. I knew a bit about them, but I didn't know the extent to the services that they were providing. Like, VA services. It doesn't matter what CRM you're using. They got VA services, but they've got a service where you can hire 8 VAs doing videos, doing social media, data entry, social outreach, and other things in between. And it's a real chance for agencies to grow, because remember that I said that outsourcing part. And if they were around when I was starting out, I can get 8 VAs each working 4 hours a day for $1,200. To get that $1,200, I needed to sign 4 or 5 clients to be covering those costs. And then I've got those VAs doing everything for those clients on my $200 a month ticket price. But if you've got somebody doing everything, and I'm seriously considering another agency again, if I find the 2 partners to full service, what do you want? Here's your team, tell them what to do, and tying that into GHL with the team, the people that I did an agency with as the visionaries, doing those coaching calls and sort of helping people realize what they want. Then they can reach out to their team in a fantastic system and get it built. But I don't think the world's ready right now for another 2,000 plus high ticket subscription with what's happening in the world at the moment. So I'm putting that on hold at the moment, but I'm tinkering in AI as well, Cal. I'm loving my vibe coding and all of that sort of thing from my chatbot building days, or, even going back further to programming games on my Commodore 64 with the tape drive and the dial-up internet. Going back to those days when I started playing on computers, to vibe coding, and I've built some fantastic systems for myself that work really well, help me in my sales calls. My website's all sorted out. I've got systems that, without me seeing it, in my voice every day, it reaches out and creates a different blog post. It puts that blog post on my website, all SEO ready. It's all discoverable by ChatGPT and Manus. It emails it out to a list that we track what's happening on that list, whether they open or they click. And if they get to a certain amount of points, we start emailing them to come in. And there's no sale on it. I've got 180 different little courses and AI prompts and sales books and all of that sort of thing. It's, come and join the free course, come and see the free book. I wrote a book because a lot of people in the agency space were having trouble selling AI. Everybody tries to sell the tools. Don't sell the tools. Paint the picture for them, and they'll know exactly what they want to buy, as you know. So I wrote a book with AI. So I openly admit that I used AI as well. But I took those 7,000 odd calls that I've done and loaded them into Manus. And spoke to it and told it what I wanted it to write. So it's all me, it's all real stories and all of that sort of thing. It's just that I used AI to help me write it. So that's a free book on my website as well. So that's what I'm doing now.
Mate, you're never going to stop. I know that. You're not like me, mate. Back in 2018, I said I'm going to retire. That lasted 2 weeks. Us entrepreneurs, we just keep on going and we retread ourselves rather than retire. And it's really just, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to hang around you for a number of years now. You were leading the GHL mastermind here in Australia, or back in Australia. Both of us are outside of Australia now, living a bit of a free life. Been a pleasure in here. And I really just want to thank you for the inspiration you've been to me, my team, and also the many, many GHLers out there, all right, that have gone through, and also here today, that scale to sale. I love that at the simplicity part. Once you scale it and you can sell it, you've lived the dream, you've done it all, and might be in and having another crack at it someday pretty soon. But
yeah, who knows, but probably not. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm sure you'll put the link below this, but if anybody watching this wants to have a chat, there's an open calendar on my thing and all of that. So there's no sale.
What's the address, mate? Let's give the people the address.
My name, StephenTann.com.
StephenTann.com. All right, real SteventAnn.com. Okay. Go and have a chat with him. He is a wealth of knowledge, great bloke to have a chat with. And if you get a chance to him, take him to a pub and he'll definitely show you how to drink. He's the Santa Claus of publicans. So, mate,
cheers,
it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. Scale to freedom. It is all about that scale to sale. That's what we've been talking about here with Steve today. Been a pleasure, mate.
Cheers, guys.
You take care of yourselves. And folks, please make sure you like and share. Get this out to as many people as possible. Let's help as many people as we can to scale and to become free. Whatever freedom means to you is what it means to you, and that's what's important. So until next time, bye for now.